1. Welcome to Made for More Living.
One small step for man.
With Johnny Jennings.
Kick the tires and light the fires, Big Daddy.
The fastest and most exciting hour of news, events, and real estate in Northern California.
And this is a fact that was proved.
Powered by eXp Realty. Online at madeformoreliving.com.
Does everybody know what time it is?
Get ready. Here we go.
I love dessert. I think dessert should come before dinner. Like that's just how it should work, Matt. Yeah. Do you have a favorite dessert?
Well, oh my goodness, anything chocolate. My wife knew before she married me that I'm a chocoholic. Like I love chocolate. Yeah, but oh my gosh. So your mom is our guest today on the show, and she brought in these ginormous chocolate chip cookies, like the size of softballs, bigger than the ones you even get at Costco. And I'm thinking, oh, they're store-bought because there's no way somebody made these homemade chocolate chip cookies and there's this big. How do you get your chocolate chip cookies to be so big?
I'm a little OCD about it. I weigh them.
You weigh them?
And I make sure every single cookie weighs the same. Now, these are only 1.5 ounce. When I'm making them for teenage boys, they're 2 ounces, and then I adjust the cooking time for that.
Wow.
But yes.
So these aren't Toll House come in a package cookies. You made these from scratch?
Never in my life have I done that.
Wow. So you make these from scratch.
That's amazing. I'm not 500 pounds.
Is this a family recipe?
It is Toll House.
Oh, it's a Toll House recipe.
But the one of the secrets is you double the chocolate chips. They say to put in there.
Double of them.
And do you use butter or?
No, I'm a Crisco all the way.
Oh, wow.
That's
so these are super healthy for you.
Absolutely.
There you go, super healthy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no,
I'm just saying, these are sitting like right in front of me, so it's going to be hard to do this show without having a chocolate chip cookie shoved in my mouth. So that might happen at one point during the show.
So we stepped outside on the balcony because here at the studio they have this great balcony, and we were standing out there, and then we came back inside, and half the cookies were gone.
Really?
Somebody grabbed half the cookies.
That's what happens when you work at a radio station.
They're like, yeah, and then Valerie, my mom got stopped in the hallway, and she's like, one of the show producers here was like, hey, who made the cookies? Did you make the cookies? And he's like, I'm a cookie connoisseur. These are fantastic.
They are. They're great.
So,
you got to smell them. Smell is always key. You can tell store-bought versus homemade just by the smell.
Yep.
That's
absolutely
so cool. So why do we have your mom on the show today?
Well, because she has kind of been an observer of Valerie and my real estate journey, and we've also helped her sell a house. She comes to us for advice, and I thought, you know what? Rather than try and guess what the consumer or what the listener is interested in, why don't we just ask one of them?
Sure.
Have one of them on. And
your mom's not biased at all, right?
Not
She's not biased at
all.
So we want your honest opinion. I will say this, though. Isn't it a good strategy, speaking of chocolate chip cookies, I've heard this, that when you're selling your home and you're having an open house and you're having people come by to look at it, it's always good to have something like fresh baked cookies in the oven. Is that true? What's the strategy there?
So scents. It's all about the scent. And I would say you can have the chocolate chip cookies. That's great. But if you don't want to go to that extra, length, then just get a nice smelling candle. Just have something nice, some nice scents in the home, and some nice soft music, right? Because as soon as the buyer pulls up to your house, they are making like a snap judgment on, hey, is this the house for me?
Right.
They've been driving through the neighborhood. They're now looking at the home. They're looking at the curb appeal. And by the time they get out of their car, if they're there with their kids, get all the kids out of the car, and they're opening the door for the first time, they're already making judgments, that first impression. And so when they open that door, and if it sounds like calming and it smells nice, doesn't smell like pets or what you have for breakfast or what you cooked for dinner, then it's like, oh, it's a very welcoming feeling.
Right.
So yeah, cookies.
Better than like fresh paint smell or anything like that. Like construction has been done recently. You want it to smell like it's going to be your home, not an empty piece of construction.
So I would say, now we're getting a more personal preference here. I would prefer fresh paint.
Really?
Prefer fresh paint over dog, over meals, over just like lived in, like that kind of homey smell. Musky, shall we say? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I would prefer like clean. That's what we coach people on. Clean.
What would you prefer?
Yeah. What would you want, Mama? What do you like
when you walk into a home for the first time? What do you want to smell?
Wait. Before she answers, think about when you walk into new builds. New builds are hotels. These are also good examples. Like Marriott has a certain scent when you walk into a Marriott.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And new builds, they also have air fresheners. They actually, like, we actually have one in our house, our personal home, where it's a industrial thing that they change these filters out, because it's all engineered to promote good feelings. Good feelings promote buying.
Interesting.
What would you want, Mama?
I would probably say, just because I know some people don't like smells, like they don't like perfumes, they don't like something too flowery, they don't like something too sweet, that either if you have a cookie type smell, a chocolate, a cinnamon, a food, fragrance, I think that would probably be more welcome to most people. But
Yeah,
I
that's
love
a good point.
I love the fresh paint smell though too.
You can't take it too far. Like, if you have this overpowering scent, like there's this candle Valerie has, like she lights it for 5 minutes and the whole house smells like it, and she blows it out, and the house still reeks of this candle. It smells delicious, but it's like too much. It's too much, right?
Yeah.
So you don't want to go too far with it, but yeah.
But it's good. It's a good strategy if you're trying to sell your home, to make it appealing to everyone that's coming by to visit.
Absolutely.
Right?
It's an easy
because it's an
fix.
emotional thing, right? It's
Yeah.
not just it's not just a logical money and cents thing. It's a very emotional experience.
Especially if you're looking at it from the perspective of my family's going to live here. If you're an investor, then it is money and
Right.
cents. But if you're looking at it from, hey, like we're moving out of an apartment into a home, or we're moving out of this home that we've been in forever into this new home, we're going to have to make new memories and new family traditions in this new home. Yeah, it really, and it's so affordable. Like, people are always worried about, like, what do I have to do? How much work do I have to put in the home? If you just deep clean it, and if the house is clean and it smells nice when the home is being shown, that goes so much further than putting a whole bunch of half-done projects into the home. So anyways, that's a lot about smells. There's a whole rabbit trail there. But Mama, I've been meaning to ask you, like, because you've known me since before
I have known you
Have you
longer.
known him his entire life?
I've
My
known
entire
him
life.
longer than anyone on the planet.
That's right.
That's true. And then what have you observed over my career and over my life? Like, what are some takeaways that
I'm
you've
curious.
seen?
Can I ask a question first?
Absolutely, yeah.
Because he wasn't always in real estate. He was working in gas and oil fields, right? Mm-hmm. And so how did you feel when he told you, Mom, I think I'm going to dive into real estate? What was your thoughts on that?
Yeah.
It's not going to have a steady paycheck. I'm going to have to work longer hours.
Oh my gosh, you're reading her mind right now.
You are, because we were briefly talking about this earlier. That, can I go a little bit
Sure.
in my background?
We got time.
So my dad was in sales, and back in the day, there were no laws that you couldn't be fired because of your age. So as soon as salespeople got to be about 50 years old, companies would fire them because they wanted fresh, young faces, and they didn't want to have to pay retirement.
Right.
So once my dad hit 50, he kept losing his job. He'd get another sales job, lose a job. So when I entered the workforce, I was like, one of my priorities is job stability. And teaching checked off all the boxes. I wanted to be able to be home with my kids most of the time. I love children. You can be creative. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go into teaching, and it has job security. So when
retirement.
And retirement, yes. And when Johnny went into real estate, all these little red flags started flashing in my brain going, oh, this is the opposite,
Right.
And at the time, he was working in the oil fields for an oil company that everyone was saying, oh, you're going to get shares in the business and it splits and you're going to have all this retirement and it's job security. So it was a little bit of are you sure you want to take this wild ride? Because like you were saying, Matt, there's no guarantee that you're going to get a steady paycheck, that you're going to have benefits, that you're going to,
Did you hear that from your mom? Did you understand that concerns that she had?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. So it was a transition for Valerie and I, to go from a steady paycheck to, only making money if you, sell something. And the job that I had, I worked for Chevron, and at the time, the average tenure for my position was 33 years. So people got that job and kept that job. When I applied, over 15,000 people applied. And in my round of hiring, 17 people were hired.
Wow.
So it's a very competitive job. It's a very good job. People keep it for a long time. A lot of great benefits in retirement. And I just remember vividly driving into the parking lot, And because people keep the job for so long, they hire in waves. And so I was part of the new generation, the young generation that was getting hired. And so I pull into the parking lot and I see all these old guys getting out of their trucks. And I'm like, and I know these guys personally. I've been working there maybe 3-4 years at this point. And so I know them, I know their backstories, I know how long they've been doing this. And I'm thinking, man, do I really, if I only have one shot in life, do I really want to be pulling into this parking lot for the next 30 years? And so Valerie and I talked it over and we just started making that transition. Yeah. So. Because
if there's one thing Johnny loves, he loves a challenge.
Right.
This is
I
true.
think sometimes that's what life is all about. It's taking those leaps of faith. It's taking those jumps and seeing what God does and seeing what happens, because we all know that saying, right? No risk, no reward. Yeah. And obviously you wanted a bigger reward in life, and that took a little bit of a risk, right?
I felt like there was more to life. And nothing against the job. Like it was a fantastic job. Best job I've ever had. So it's not like anything against the guys. It just wasn't for me, you know? And so, yeah, it was definitely, I just felt like we were made for more. There was something there. And so, you know,
and that's why you created Made for More, right?
Exactly.
That's why you phrased it that way.
But it has not, I will say, it has not been an easy journey, you know? And then later, I was asking my mom and I was asking people on our team, like, hey, with my mom here, what kind of questions would you like us to cover? And one of them was that transition and also working together with your significant other.
Right.
So we'll get into that in just a little bit. Back after this.
All right, so you want to move out of state, you want to sell your home, but you don't want to go through all the hassle of finding a real estate agent, doing open houses, yada, yada, yada. You want it to be fast, easy, and simple. Just call up Johnny Jennings with the Tom Daves Real Estate Team. There's a reason why they're #1 in Sacramento, outstanding Google reviews. Hey, you know what? They'll even give you a all-cash offer no matter what kind of condition your home is in. So if you're curious what kind of offers you would get on your home, go to tomdaves.com. That's TomDaves.com, or give Johnny Jennings a call. We trust him. You should too. 855-TOM-DAVES. 855-TOM-DAVES. License number 581837.
This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings, powered by eXp Realty. Online at madeformoreliving.com.
Mama, was there ever a time in your life where you just wanted to, like, because we're coming up, this is a leap year, so just talking about that, but take a leap of faith. Like maybe you were scared about something, take a risk, and maybe you weren't 100% sure that you wanted to do that, because I know you're not a big risk taker.
No, I'm not. So back in the day when you were just a couple years old, we found some property.
Who was president?
I'm not sure.
Was it Clinton?
It was 90, 92?
I think that was Bush.
That would have been the end of George H. Bush's presidency. That would have been the beginning of Bill Clinton's presidency.
Yeah, okay.
So.
Well, first of all, I'm a country girl. I grew up surrounded by fields, living in the country. In fact, most of my life, I have lived with a field across from me. And so I don't do well in the city. And we found some property. It was 20 acres. The real estate agent lived right next door to us. And he said, hey, I've got this property, 20 acres. But I'm a stay-at-home mom with 3 little kids. And my husband's a teacher. And so we weren't abounding in money. And he said, well, just come out and look at it. And immediately fell in love with this 20 acres outside of town. It was gorgeous.
Was this here in Northern California?
No.
This is in Kalinga. This was...
So Kalinga, you're heading south from the 5. It smells really
3
bad.
hours, yeah.
Oh,
Harris
Harris
Ranch.
Okay.
That's where.
So,
what was it about the property, though? Like, why we were like, this is the one?
Oh, it was so gorgeous because there was nothing around. It was the end of where it was just fields and cattle and grass. And you could see the expanse of the valley, of the hills. Yeah. And it was just so gorgeous. And it was like, oh my gosh, how are we going to afford this? But we have got to get this property. So came up with kind of creative financing. And I said, how about we just pay, because it was owner finance, because it was undeveloped land. We just pay interest-only payments to the people that own the land until I go back into the workforce as a teacher, and then we'll make big payments and pay it off in a couple of years. And they agreed to that. And the real estate agent said, I have never heard of this before, but we'll give it a go. And so they went with our price. It had only been on the market for a couple of days. I mean, we were the first people to see it too.
It was fast too. And they took
it was fast, and they took it. And they said, yeah, we're good with that. We don't need the money right away. So we paid them interest-only payments for 4 years. And then I went back into the workforce when the kids were in kinder. And so, yeah, but that was just out of pure love for this property. And, and that's where the kids grew up. What
was your interest in the property? Why did you want 20 acres of undeveloped land?
That's a good question.
Well, I
think it's because they wanted to put us to work.
Well, there wasn't anything less than 20 acres out there. It was all designated ag land. And another thing we thought was kind of interesting was you could put them multiple homes on the property. So we thought, we're all going to live on this property forever, and the kids can build their home on here, and we're all going to be, together forever. And so it was kind of that long-term vision of being out where it's quiet. We could make as much noise as we wanted. We had no neighbors. We could blare our music, and it was peaceful, and it was gorgeous.
Yep, it was a fun place to live.
And so what's the ending of that story? You finally purchased the property, and you're all living there together on the property now?
No.
Wall-built houses? You're being loud?
You go into a home or you go into a work job and you think, okay, this is going to be it forever. And then life throws some curves, and the whole thing is, are you going to bend or are you going to break?
Right.
Like a tree. And so you just go, okay, this was wonderful, but got to live there for 20 years.
Oh, wow.
And still it is the screensaver. It is the wallpaper on my phone, is my drive up to the house out in the country, because now I'm living up here. But
that's so cool, though. But it paid off. It was a risk. It was scary. You obviously couldn't afford the payments. It was something that you were looking towards down the future. You didn't see that reward right away. It took a long time to really invest and see the fruit of taking that leap.
And the trust of the buyer to say, the seller to say, no, we're going to trust you to make these payments.
Right.
That blows my mind that they were willing to take an offer with it being brand new on the market like that. Did you know them personally?
No, we didn't know them at all.
Okay. Yeah, because small town, everybody knows somebody.
We knew the name. We kind of knew of the family.
What
but
was
we
their
didn't
name?
Know them.
Do we
Walkers.
Remember? Oh, gosh. There's a lot of Walkers.
There's a lot of Walkers. It isn't the Walkers that we're really good friends with.
But that happens in real estate a lot, right? The owner hears the story of the person that wants to buy the home or buy the property, and they hear your story and they think, oh, that's sweet, that's nice, we like that, we like that buyer. So even if they get bigger offers, if something's important to them, they want to know that what they're selling is going to go into the hands of someone who's going to take care of it.
Well, that's a big deal, isn't it, Johnny? That sometimes even buyers will write a letter saying how much the house means to them, and it helps make the decision for the seller. Right?
It's a bit of a sticky wicket. So buyers agents will submit them. Some listing agents will not present them because fair housing, you're not allowed. Like, what if this is a certain demographic of family and they submitted the offer, and not because of the demographics, the seller picked somebody else. But what if that buyer then goes, well, you just didn't pick us because we're this demographic.
That could be tough. You're right.
So there's a sticky wicket there. But then I also come across sellers who are like for example, we have a house coming up in Rancho Cordova. It's a very affordable price point. And the sellers are adamant. It used to be their mom's house. The sellers are adamant, hey, we really want a young family to buy this house. And so, if somebody does submit the letter and that letter gets to them, then that would have an influence on that seller about who, like if it's a single person or a young family and there's comparable terms, they might go with the young family. So you're right, it does play a role in it, but as a listing agent, you got to be careful.
Sure.
But some buyer's agents are really aggressive with that letter. They'll actually embed it in the offer. Like, they'll submit the whole offer with the PDF as one solid PDF. So now the agent has to go in and split the PDF to get the offer letter out of there if they're presenting offers to their buyers or to the sellers.
But especially when you're in a market where there's multiple offers, even in the first weekend, you got to figure out ways to make your offer stand out, right?
Yeah. No, you do. But so we just put a house in contract. We had 18 offers on it. People are wondering all the time, hey, when's the market going down? Is this going to, our interest rate's going to make it less competitive? This is in February, right? At the time of this recording. And so 18 offers. That is just absolutely crazy in a 7% interest rate market. And the house went for $60,000 in contract for over $60,000 above list. And they waived their contingencies. So if that house doesn't even appraise for that value, and that's in today's market. And so when you have 18 offers on a home, that's a lot of letters to read. Right?
Yeah.
And so is the seller really going to go through and read all those letters? They'll probably only read the letters of the strongest offers.
Right, the ones that have good financing. Right.
Good financing, good terms, those types of things.
Well, that's why we were shocked, really, because we didn't even offer their asking price for the land. And we were their first offer, and they still took our lower price.
Really?
And yes. We asked, actually, I can say it was $60,000 to get the 20 acres, so we can tell that was a long time ago.
I didn't know that, yeah.
It was, they were asking 60, and we offered 55 with owner financing, and they went for it. So I would say don't be afraid if you really, really, really want something, land or a home, you can try to be creative.
Absolutely. Make an offer. Like if you don't make an offer, it's 100% going to get rejected. So just always make an offer. That's what we're always telling buyers. Just make an offer. It doesn't cost anything to make an offer.
Right.
Well, I'm embarrassed. Well, I don't know if I don't want them to think less of me. Nobody cares, right?
We're not in junior high anymore.
Yeah, we're not in junior high. So I heard this great quote. People in their 20s care what other people think about them. People in their 40s don't care what other people think about them. People in their 60s realize nobody was even thinking about you in the first place.
That's it.
It's
That's
true.
where I
Love
am.
That.
Yeah.
So just jump to the 60s. Nobody's even thinking about you. But so speaking of risks though, when Valor and I got, transitioned into real estate, and you were talking about you were worried, Mom, about not having a steady income and things like that. What else did you observe? Because I know there's a lot of people listening who might be thinking about doing the same transition.
I think what helped with me was knowing the character and the integrity and the perseverance and drive that you have. So you love a challenge. You do this crazy every birthday challenge that we can talk about another time. But you feed off of a real severe challenge. If anyone says it can't be done, Johnny's going to say, okay, let's do it. And so I knew that no matter what, you weren't going to quit at the first sign of trouble or any kind of problem that would come up, that you would find a way to leap over it. Mm-hmm. And so knowing you and your perseverance and your work ethic, I thought if anyone's going to make it, they're going to make it. And you and Valerie as a team, because of the way that you guys are so strong together, I really have not been seriously concerned. Yeah.
And we were, I don't want to say we were like reckless, but we were smart about it. Like making a big change like that, there's a certain element of risk to it, but we transitioned slowly. So first of all, I had to get it cleared with Chevron, because technically moonlighting's not allowed. And my boss at the time said, yeah, that's fine, just as long as it doesn't interfere with your work here. And so I said, great. And then I quickly realized, so I would go to work clean, come home dirty.
very.
And then I'd have to shower real quick, and then I'd go to the office and start working in the afternoons. And it was definitely not the easiest thing to be working two jobs like that. But I also realized early on how much work it entailed, and so that's why I enlisted Valerie. And then there's only so many things you can do as an unlicensed assistant. So she quickly got her real estate license. And then the two of us working together, we were able to transition from, here's an interesting thing about our transition, is I didn't go full-time in real estate until we moved up here. And
now that was the leap of faith.
That was the massive leap, because I moved up here, Valerie and I moved up here, and we knew nobody. Like nobody. We beat you up here, Mama, by a couple of months.
Yeah, technically, yeah.
Yeah. And so I didn't know what the grocery store was. I didn't know any of that. And so, but we had made that transition by slowly, the previous years, I think we owned 3 or 4 different rental properties. So we sold all of that. we'd been selling homes in Kalinga, and so we were banking those commissions, and so we had this nest egg, and then we made the leap of faith up here, but we didn't even go full time until we moved to Roseville.
Right. So it was a change of home location, complete change of job, cutting the ties with any kind of, and that's steady income.
That's the thing that I see most agents struggle with is they're trying to do it smart. And I agree, you should have 3 to 6 months of reserves stacked up, but you have to make the jump at some point. If you always straddle the fence and you're always like, hey, I don't want to let go of this state job, or I don't want to let go of this great job that I have right now, I'm just going to continue to do both. Your real estate business is always going to suffer. You cannot chase two rabbits. You cannot catch two rabbits. And so,
well, just what you were doing with Chevron.
Yeah.
You were having to fit in real estate when you weren't at Chevron. And so you weren't able to do it all day long. And so it was,
But at some point you got to make a decision.
Right.
You can't be like a professional anything if you're doing, like you can't be a professional lawyer and a professional realtor. You can't be a professional dentist and a professional realtor.
Right. So if there's someone listening right now and they're thinking about making that jump, maybe they're in the industry right now and they're just not seeing the numbers they want because maybe they haven't taken that leap of faith or haven't been, somewhat reckless in making those tough decisions. Or there's someone who's just thinking about entering into the industry. They want to get their license. You guys have availability to help guide them a little bit, right? And provide some resources that they won't be able to find with other companies.
Absolutely. So we have a couple different resources, a couple different programs. So if you're looking to get licensed, we can help walk you through that and give you guidance and clarity on what the costs are. How do you do this effectively? How do you make that transition from part-time agent to full-time agent? And then for those people who are already licensed and are looking to maybe take their career to the next level, we have a program for them as well, where we launch them from being, maybe a part-time agent or selling, less than $6 million a year in sales to bumping them up to $6 to $10 million in sales. So we have two different programs that, depending on where you are, if you want to learn more about that, just reach out to us. Go to madeformoreliving.com. You can reach out to us there, or just, give us a call.
What's your phone number?
So you can call the Tom Daves line. You can call it 855-TOM-DAVES, or you can just Google us and call the number there on the Google page.
Cool. So it's living.com.
Madeformoreliving.com.
So maybe you've got a rental property and at first you thought it was a great idea, but it's just so much work. It's not bringing in the money you had hoped. You don't have time to keep up with all the maintenance. Here's what you can do. It's a simple phone call to Johnny Jennings with a Tom Daves real estate team, 855-TOM-DAVES. They might even give you an all-cash offer, make it simple, quick, and fast. You might get more money than you think, or you can just go to TomDaves.com. That's Tom, DAVES.com. Whether you have a rental property or you're moving out of state and you just want to sell your home fast, go to TomDaves.com, find out what kind of offers you would get or how much you would get if you wanted a cash offer, no matter what kind of condition the home is in. Again, it's Tom, DAVES.com, or 855-TOM-DAVES, license number 581837.
This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings, powered by eXp Realty. Online at madeformoreliving.com.
We are having fun in the studio today. Today's
That's
guest,
not me.
Today's guest, that was not Matt. He can't do that even if he wanted to. But is my mother.
Hello.
So last week we had your wife. This week we have your mother. Do you have a sister or an ex-girlfriend that we're going to be bringing on?
I have all the above. But I think it might stop with my mother. Maybe my pops. My pops might come on, but
I think this should be a regular thing where the guest has to bring in some kind of treat. Like your mom brought in chocolate chip cookies. Next week, I think in order to be on the show, they have to bring in some kind of treat.
Hey, I'm not opposed to that.
I'll come again and bring my chocolate chip cheesecake.
Ooh, oh my gosh. That's next week, right?
That's the best one. Yeah. It's now
It's now a baking cooking show.
Great Sacramento cooking show.
Yeah.
Baking show. Mama, but you I've been working with Matt now for a while, and what has been your impression, or at least through me?
His question is, my question is, does he talk about me off the air?
Yes, he does, in a very, very positive way. He just has the highest respect and regard for you, and
I respect the hustle.
Yeah, and then
It's
I started the hustle. And anyone out there who's more my age, which is 63, do
the hustle.
Yeah,
I thought you
don't remember that song.
I have no idea. Is that like a wedding song?
Did you not play music around the house when he was a kid?
Did we what?
Did you play music around the house when he was a kid?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a musician, so music was on all the time.
Yeah, we were always listening.
I have young kids, so I'm trying to introduce them to stuff, the classics that I listened to when I was a kid.
What'd you listen to?
Well, I listened to I listened to more of the 80s pop. And my wife is more of an old school, like Garth Brooks country music, like Randy Travis, old school country. So we like to try to introduce them to old classic movies, classic songs. But so he complimented me on my hustle, huh?
Yes,
That's
very
interesting.
much. Yeah, a man of integrity, hardworking. Yes.
Because it's true. It's true. You need a little bit of a hustle, especially in real estate, right?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. No, if you
don't have the hustle, you probably won't succeed.
No. So there's a couple things that differentiate a good agent from a great agent. One of them is accountability, who you surround yourself with. Are they holding you accountable? Are they providing like a roadmap to success? And the other is the hustle. So you can have the best leads, you can have the best systems, you can have the best people around you. But if you don't show up and put in the work, it's all for nothing. So
and there's no passing the buck. It's on you.
Yeah, that's the hard thing. That's the really hard thing. And especially if you are looking to get into real estate or take your career in real estate up a notch, man, it is people are all about balance. Balance this, balance that. How do you balance? And to me, balance is the wrong word. It's more about rhythm. And so when you're launching that career, when you're trying to like when we acquired Tom Davis's team, right? So I bought Tom Dave's book of business, right? He and I are partners, and that increased the rhythm of Valerie in my life, right? The beat, the pounding of the drum increased significantly because now we have to get used to this new cadence, this new lead flow, this new volume of work. And so if you're looking to go beyond where you are currently, you got it. You have to increase the rhythm, and then eventually the rhythm will steady out. Like you think about people like the Vikings rowing, right?
Sure.
Like you see in the movies, them banging the drums and they go faster, and then the drum beats faster. But at a time, the rhythm needs to slow down, and that's something that I struggle with. Valerie's better at wanting to. She drops the anchor a little bit and tries to slow us down, you know. But that's another question we get all the time too. Is like,
because you have two new babies now, right?
Yeah.
2 new children.
Yeah.
They're still really young. You have a wife. So I'm sure that's sometimes a concern of a mom who's our guest today is, son, how do you still maintain the balance? Because family is really important.
Very important. And that, again, was one of the reasons why I went into teaching, was because I wanted to spend that time as much as I could with the children, because we all know that even though when we are in it, we think it's going to last forever, but it doesn't. Mm-hmm. It goes by so fast. And so at the end of your life, you don't want to be having regrets and go, gosh, I wish I had spent more time with my family.
Right.
So, and in fact, there's the quote about no one on his deathbed ever said, I wish I had spent more time on my business.
Right.
So,
and I can see Johnny's mind working right now.
And so
I won't say that.
Yeah.
And so as a mama who is all about supporting, loving, being there for kids and my grandkids, how do you do that? Because in real estate, it's a 24/7, 365 job.
Yeah, you see it from a bird's eye view.
Yeah, you don't get, if they can go away for a weekend and I can watch the kids, so they can go one night away, it's like, woohoo, party time,
deal.
Because they're always on call. And I bet even if they get away, they're getting calls.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So, well, by the way, Mama, before I go down into that conversation, I do want to, we've talked about how great Matt is, but I do want to build you up a little bit too, because I think you and Dad did a fantastic job raising myself and Paul and Ashley.
Thank you.
There's a lot of people who look critically at how they were raised and their kids and things like that, and I have nothing but great things to say about you and Dad.
Oh,
you guys were always there for us and supported us, and you continue to support us, and just like you watch Jack twice a week, and he loves it, and we like that you guys get to have that time together. So I just want to let you know,
thank you,
publicly on the air that we love you.
Love you too.
But yeah, so
and it's love in action, and so that's the thing is when you're with your children, you need to be there.
Yeah. So my question is, you see the passion of your mom and you realize, like what you just said, that they did a great job.
She set the bar.
Yes, by making family a priority.
Yeah.
But on the other side of the coin is you have this real strong passion to make Made for More Living the dominant premier real estate company in California, if not in the nation. And so you are passionate about this. Your wife is really passionate about this.
Yep.
And when you're passionate about something, you're doing it a lot. You're spending a lot of your time doing it. And so how do you figure out that balance, especially when you're inviting other people to come be a part of your team? And nobody wants to be burnt out or worn out. They want to be successful. Absolutely. So how do you ensure those listening that not only can you be successful and be a winner, even be at the top of your field, but also you still have time to make your family a priority?
Yep. So, oh my gosh, that's a deep conversation. But
we got time.
We got time. So I think the most important thing comes with awareness, like knowing where you are in that relationship, where you stand with your spouse, with your kids, and knowing the telltale signs of, hey, there needs to be more invested time-wise into this. So when we first had Jack, our first kid, that was really hard on Valerie and I, because we'd been married for 10 years, and it was just the two of us, just working, grinding, and now all of a sudden there's this new life. And it just threw a wrench in the works. And so actually Valerie and I started going to marriage counseling. And so what we learned in that counseling was that it's an analogy of a cup. So whatever you put into a cup, it'll eventually overflow if you put enough things into it. And what's overflowing out of that cup is what you've, again, put into it. And so what, in your relationship, what is flowing out of that cup? Like what are the symptoms of your relationship? Is your spouse happy to see you? Are your kids happy to see you? Are you happy to see your spouse? Like, so what is being put into that cup? And the reason why we like the cup analogy is because it gives a certain sense of accountability and personal control over it. So I have control over the contents that I'm putting into Valerie's cup. Am I putting love? Am I putting patience? Am I putting attention into her cup? Similarly, she has to be putting stuff into my cup. So that leads us to the next thing. So once you understand the awareness of, hey, why is the child acting this way? Why is my wife behaving this way? Why am I having these thoughts, positive or negative, about the relationship? Like you can start making adjustments. But if you don't even know what's going on, if you're just lost at sea, that's really hard. And because then you feel helpless, hopeless, and you don't know what to do.
Right.
So if there's awareness, then there's that. The other thing that has really helped Valerie and my relationship and our business, because it's one and the same. Like if Valerie and my relationship falls apart, the business is non-existent.
Sure.
And so what helped us was a book by a person named Elena Cardone, and she is married to a guy named Grant Cardone. Grant Cardone in the real estate world and the sales world is very, very, very well known. And in this book, she uses the analogy of two Clydesdales. And the Clydesdales, if they're pulling by themselves, they can pull 8,000 pounds. But if they're pulling, two Clydesdales pulling together, can pull 24,000 pounds. So more than triple than what they can do by themselves. And so when Valerie and I were starting this business and making that transition from a steady paycheck to, only a 100% commission-based income, there were some problems there, and we had to get on the same page. And so I would say you have to have awareness of where you are in your relationship and do regular check-ins. Like Valerie and I aren't the best about it, but we're supposed to do check-ins with each other, have time set aside on Sunday evenings. Like, hey, how's the calendar looking? How did I serve you? How are you feeling about things? And then have that conversation. So awareness and then being on the same page. Like if you're looking to get into real estate or if you're looking to start a new business or something like that, and you have to make sure that your spouse and even your kids are on the same page. Like obviously we started this before Jack came on the scene, but if you have children, like sit down and tell them, hey, this is what it's going to look like, because it takes a lot. So what is it? The shuttle uses up the vast majority of its fuel at launch. And then once it's in orbit, it requires very little fuel. Sure. And so when you're launching a new business, launching a new career, you have to be on the same page. But even to this day, Valerie and I are about almost 10 years into it, and we barely get away. right? And so that's because our rhythm is fast. We're always growing, but that's not for everybody. So you have to identify what are your goals,
right?
Yes.
Right. And so if Valerie and my goals are in line, and our goals are to grow this team and make it the premier real estate team in the area, then that's good as long as we're on the same page. But if you're looking to get into real estate and your spouse is used to you picking up the kids from school and doing soccer practice while they go golfing, and you guys are not on the same page, it doesn't matter if you have a big goal or a little goal. It's gonna cause problems.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I would also add, or I'll ask you this, one of the keys to not getting burnt out and having a balanced life is making sure that you're on a good team, or you have people alongside to help you and understand where you're going. And that's why you are trying to grow your team at Made for More Living, because you know that you work better and more successfully when you're all doing it together and when you're sharing resources and you're helping each other be successful.
Absolutely. So there's that's a benefit that Valerie and I have had out of the gate, in that there was always two of us. And so we were never an island. We were never alone. And as we grow the team, our main focus is to make agents more productive by focusing on the things that they want to do, which is typically working with clients. They don't want to deal with the paperwork. They don't want to deal with the marketing. They don't want to deal with the lead generation. And just give them the stuff that they're really passionate about, and allow them to focus on that and take that other stuff off their plate to create a little bit more of a work-life balance. But here's the thing is that, again, I just slipped up. I try not to even use that term, the work-life balance term, but everybody in our industry is like the why. They're always talking about the why.
Sure.
Like, why? What's your why? Are you doing this for your... But you boil it down, everybody's getting into real estate typically because they like the flexible schedules, and they like the fact that you can make a decent living, and they want to spend more time with their family. And so the whys are all pretty much the same. But if it's all about the why and the whys are all the same, then why doesn't everybody have the same outcome?
Right.
And my personal belief is that why is one side of the same coin, and on the other side of that coin is the what. And what are you willing to sacrifice in order to attain the why? Mm-hmm. Okay, so if you're not willing to sacrifice weekends, if you're not willing to sacrifice nights, if you and your spouse are not on the same page, if your kids are not on the same page and understand what you guys are working towards and working for as a family, and you're not on the same page with the what, the why is not going to be enough to pull you through the fire. So anyways, that's my 2 cents. Does that provide any clarity, Mama, or anything you want to add?
Yes. Actually, going back to you saying, as a parent, even though I had a lot of time with you because of my work schedule, as I go back and reflect being a grandmother, what do I wish I could have a redo on?
Oh, that's good.
And there are several things I wish I could have a redo on, but I would say if I could pick just one, it's communication. I wish I had spent more time, just not great amounts of time, but having a time where I just focused on that child and they got to just talk and just say how they're doing, maybe have specific questions to ask them, but just enjoy that child and have them feel like they can talk.
Have them feel seen.
Yeah, because my mom was a professional cake decorator, but she did it out of her home. And so I remember coming home from school and just sitting down and talking to her, about my day and everything. And I think that you can spend a lot of time with people, but are you really communicating? Are you really sharing life? So. Yep.
And you have to have people around you too that are willing to communicate authentically. So for example, like if there's something bugging Valerie and she's not communicating that to me, then I'll have to do some sleuthing and see what's coming out of her cup. But it really helps if everybody's on the same page. And so we do have a nanny. We have a nanny that helps with us. She's fantastic. And so she told Valerie and I yesterday, hey, Jack's really asking about you guys. Is there a way that we could do lunch together? So later today, we're going to be having lunch together. And so she's going to bring lunch over to the office. And so just having people like that, like you said, Mama, open lines of communication.
People have got to communicate.
It changes everything. Absolutely. Back after this.
All right, so you want to move out of state, you want to sell your home, but you don't want to go through all the hassle of finding a real estate agent, doing open houses, yada, yada, yada. You want it to be fast, easy, and simple. Just call up Johnny Jennings with the Tom Daves Real Estate Team. There's a reason why they're number one in Sacramento, outstanding Google reviews. Hey, you know what? They'll even give you a all-cash offer no matter what kind of condition your home is in. So if you're curious what kind of offers you would get on your home, go to tomdaves.com. That's TomDaves.com, or give Johnny Jennings a call. We trust him. You should too. 855-TOM-DAVES. 855-TOM-DAVES. License number 581837.
This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings, powered by eXp Realty. Online at madeformoreliving.com.
We're back and we have my mama on the show today, and we're just talking about real estate and how things have changed, and just talking about real estate agents and work-life balance. But Mama, when you bought your first home, what year was that?
1983, and it was very unusual circumstances because we lived in Coalinga and they had just had a major earthquake. So
the big one.
A big one. And so any houses that didn't fall down and that you could actually buy, it was talk about no homes on the market. Very, very few. So there were a few new homes that had been purchased, and we right away gobbled one up. And again, it's like $55,000 seems to be the number for us, but the house cost $55,000. Back in 1983, but that was, we had to find somewhere to live, and thankfully we found somewhere.
What drew you to that house? What was it that you liked about the house on Monday?
It was available. It was in our price range.
Actually, husbands, I would not recommend you do this, but my husband thought it would be great to just say, hey, honey, I bought a house. I never saw it.
Wow.
I didn't have any say in it.
Oh, Pops.
At all. He just, hey, I found a house and I bought it.
But I bet you he was excited about that because he felt like I'm providing and I'm
sure
taking the lead here.
I'm sure he did. Well, because
that's not uncommon. Just so you're aware,
it's not uncommon. Well, it's what his dad had done with his mother too.
Okay.
So
I haven't done that to Val.
Good boy. All right.
Hey, Valerie, I bought a boat.
I bought a boat. Yeah.
That's a whole nother story about.
Do you remember what the interest rate was?
Ooh.
Yes, it was an FHA at 11.9%.
Whoa, we think 7 is bad. This is a great point to stop and think about that for a minute, because a lot of people forget, because we've been used to low, 3s and even 2s and 4s, and we're at, I don't know, somewhere around the 7s, right? Yep. And so to look back and you thought...
And everyone was like, oh my gosh, how did you do that? How'd you get 11.9? Because it was considered so great.
Wow.
That was a phenomenal interest rate.
I used JJ Mack. That's how I used it.
Do you remember how many square feet the home was?
Yes, it was 1,000 square feet.
When you bought it, right?
When we bought it, it was a 3-2, and so it was 11.9.
You did an addition.
We did an addition and added a den. So then we bumped it up to 1,400 square feet, and that's the home that Johnny and his siblings were, came home in after they were born. But it was a great deal. I mean, FHA, we only had to put 3% down on $55,000. And we just thought, this is exciting. We're owning our first home.
That's cool.
And some people listening to this, they're like, okay, I would pay 11.9%
for a $55,000
if the house only costs $55,000. But what many people fail to take into consideration is...
It was in Coalinga.
Yeah, it was in Coalinga.
Hey,
you get a house.
We love Coalinga. We love Coalinga. Have you ever been to Coalinga, Matt?
I think I've driven through, right?
Everyone says that they've smelled it because of Harris Ranch.
Yeah, no, it's
right. But no, I've never. I mean, what are the top tourist destinations in Coalinga?
Oh gosh,
the Baker Museum.
Yeah, I was to say that's.
Hey,
I
grew up and was raised in Yuba City for many years, in big agricultural town. So we had one movie theater, not a whole lot. So I appreciate those small towns. It's a great place to raise a family. Absolutely.
Well, most people, back to the $55,000 thing, they don't realize, hey, what were wages at that time? Right. What is that? That home today is probably worth $250, $300, like low $275 today. Right. It's probably what that home would sell for. And so you're thinking, okay, well, that's not a lot. Well, hey, back to the Coalinga conversation. It's location.
Right.
But when you're looking at homes, whether it's in the Sacramento area or anywhere in the country, you have to figure out that, or you have to realize that appreciation, real estate, your primary home is a hedge against inflation. So sometimes the housing market will outpace inflation, and that's where you're starting to make some money. But oftentimes it's just keeping track. It's 3 to 4% every year, and inflation is typically about 3%. So it's just keeping pace with inflation. So when you hear $55,000, you're like at 11%. Just change that into today's numbers at 11%, right? And so it's you're not comparing apples and oranges; it's apples and apples. But
well, I would say if we're going to talk percentages, we also refinanced twice while we were in that home. We lived there for 15 years because as interest rates came down, then we would refinance. So we got it down to in the 9s, and then we got it down into the 6s. And that saved a lot.
Yeah. Then the 6s, and here you are, back in interest rates like what we have today.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. When I bought, maybe I did do that to Valerie. I don't remember Valerie seeing the home.
Oh man, it's a Jennings thing.
It's a 3-generation. It's a John thing. Sorry, Jack. Sorry, Jack's future wife.
I'm gonna have to talk to your future wife.
Oh my gosh, but yeah, maybe I did, but Valerie and I weren't married, and I wanted to have a house for her when we did get married. And so we were living in Bakersfield at the time, and we went with a family realtor who Valerie knew. And so at least I did that. Valerie picked the realtor. And but I used every single last penny I had to buy this house. And I remember vividly being on my bachelor party and the lender calling me and being like, hey, I know I said get you $10,000 extra in this grant. We got you that, but guess what? My fees have changed and it's going to cost you an extra, whatever it was. I was like, you got to be kidding me. What's the benefit to this program? So the lender was a little bit shady. So I had but I wanted to close the deal. I was too far into it. The wedding was a couple days away. And so we closed on it. But what I learned in that process is how important inspections are, because I vividly remember having no money left. And then all of a sudden the house starts flooding because the main line was backed up. So hey, it's not always roses. It's taking a leap of faith. Oh, yeah.
If you're really sure you want something, you go for it, and then you just deal with things as they come.
Deal with them as they come, and it all works out in the long run.
So before we end today's show, I'd love to get your perspective as the mom. What is your recommendation for people that are listening that are thinking about selling their home or buying their home? Why would you recommend your son, Johnny Jennings?
Absolutely. No one is going to work harder for you, have more, be available all the time, but it's his integrity. He's so honest. He is always going to tell you the truth. And so that's why you can trust him. And I know that trust is a huge factor in your real estate agent. You've got to be able to trust them that what they're doing is for your good and for your best, to enable you to get what you're wanting to get. So no one's going to work harder for you. And I'm saying that honestly. No one's going to put out more effort and be more honest than Johnny and Valerie.
There you go.
Thanks, Mama. All right.
She should be doing your endorsements on the radio.
Yeah, we gotta get
she should be voicing your commercials.
maybe that's in your future, Mama. You got a new job.
That's right.
Yeah, I'd love
Thanks
to.
for being on the show, Mama. It was a pleasure.
Oh, I loved it. Thank you, son.